Hi, this is Natalie Callback, and I'm here with Tonia Jenny for our interview for Creative Jumpstart 2020. And I'm super excited to welcome Tonia for the first time to Creative Jumpstart. I have known her for a couple of years now. She was one of the editors at F&W and Northlight Books, and I had the pleasure to work with her on some things, and it was always awesome. And she also makes amazing artwork. I'm also very happy. I should have worn it today. I have a really cool necklace that she made me in concrete with one of my foam stems, and yeah, she has a lot of things that she has going on. So I will actually just let Tonia say hi to you, and then also tell us a little bit about yourself, Tonia.
Okay. Hi. I'm Tanya. Thanks for inviting me, Natalie, to participate in this year's production. I'm really excited to be here. Gosh, a little bit about myself. Well, I am still trying to figure out who I am on a
Don't
daily
we
basis.
all?
I think we all are doing that. And honestly, that's kind of a big part of the courses that I like to teach are things that help us get to know ourselves more, because that's the type of art that I like to make. So I'm a mixed media artist, as we all are. I think that's pretty safe to say. Um, I've been making art since I was little, again, like a lot of us. And my mom was an artist, so she was a painter, and I never really took up her passion for painting, but she also loved crafts, and that I definitely latched onto. We made a lot of crafts together, and that just kind of stuck with me. So I am an artist, but I'm also an editor, and I like measuring things, and I kind of like using both parts of my brain for a lot of different art as well as different things in life too. How's that for a muddled answer?
That's very good. And so tell us a little bit about the kind of artwork you are doing. Like I know
Um,
works media, but like let's say what are you doing right now? Like I can think of two things, but I'm not gonna take it from you.
right now, I am playing a lot with air dry clay. I'm having really fun with that. Now that I finally discovered a type that I really like, it's just opened up a new world for me. So I'm playing a lot with that. And I've been playing with cement for about 3 years now. So that's kind of um, simmered down a little bit, but it's still there. I still pull it out here and there, especially if I need to make like a gift for somebody, or I get some idea that I want to try. The primary thing that I've made with cement are candle holders.
Hmm.
Not just because it lends itself to that, but because I love candles so much. But then I also make jewelry with it, like I did for you.
Yeah. So how can I? So the thing is, and I might not be the only one thinking about it, but cement, you kind of like, or my first thought was like, oh my God, she's gonna have like a huge like garage with her cement mixer.
Right. I know, it's so funny, and I'm just determined to show people that that's not what is required to work with it. It's really not any more difficult to work with than clay. And
Hmm.
honestly, it's less messy to work with than some things like, oh my gosh, what's that stuff that like Judy Wise and Stephanie Lee did, that plaster
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. Oh my gosh, like that is way messier. I love that work. I think it is so cool, and I've
Yeah.
tried picking it up a couple times, but it's just too messy for me. I'm a little more fastidious than that. I'm one of those cooks that cleans up everything as I go, so I never have a lot to do at the end. Um, yeah, cement is actually surprisingly easy. You can use just a tiny amount in a plastic cup with a craft stick and some water. That's cement. That's what you need.
Do
So,
you
and
work in the studio you're sitting here right now, or do you have another space where you do that kind of
I
work?
have another space. just because it's closer to outside, and like when I'm done with the cement bucket, I like to go outside and rinse it out. I have done jewelry in here, just when I'm mixing up a really small amount, if it's in a cup that I'm just going to throw away and not rinse out. Yeah, I've done it in here, but usually I do it in a different room.
Mm-hmm. So this year's topic, so every year we have a different topic for those of you that might not know that for Creative Jumpstart. And how it works is I send out an email and to the artist, and I ask them to contribute a video that it's about 10 minutes long, roundabout, with, you know, a tutorial or idea or whatever that fits to that theme. And for 2020, the theme is superpower. So, and in this case, it's about more about the artistic superpower. But let me ask you, what is your artistic superpower? And because she's an editor, I can ask her 2 questions at once. What do you think is like your life, everyday superpower, if they are different?
Yes, they are different, I would say. And also just the fact that, I mean, you kind of opened this up already because you asked what these 2 different superpowers are. And we all have many superpowers, right? So, you know, I did come up, it was hard. I had to think about it for the artistic one. Gosh, what is my artistic superpower? Given that I change, you know, focuses every, you know, other week or so, like, do I really have one? And the one answer that I came up with for that was I really love making my own mundane things. Mm-hmm. Like, I think there's so much value and meaning in creating yourself the things that you use every day. So whether it's clothes or kitchen utensils, mm-hmm. you know, I really like making utilitarian art, jewelry. That's why I love making jewelry so much. So I think that's it's just my ability to see the potential there. But kind of what I realized thinking about this afterwards also is I think, honestly, my superpower is, if you're going to broaden it a little bit, is I don't have any fear of trying something new. Mm-hmm. I trust in my own learning capacity. And if something doesn't work out, I know, you know, it's not the end of the world. I do kind of think it through first if I'm kind of made for that. But really, I'm not, I pretty much, this is going to sound really boastful, but I really think I can make just about anything that I actually set out to do, you know? So, and I don't think that I'm special in that respect. I think it's just something I've developed over time by, you know, going from thing to thing to thing. It kind of keeps reinforcing itself. And then, what's my life superpower? I don't know. I would say probably just my my disposition. You know, I have a very calm, kind of slow disposition, and I seem to have a really calming effect on people. I've been told that time and time again. So it's not something that I would think of without that feedback, but I guess maybe that would be one thing.
I can attest to it. Because I'm kind of like, blah, 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 blah. And I know when I was with you or when we would talk, you were always like having this kind of like, okay, you know, like, and you're okay. Like, oh, wait, I'm centered all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That is really interesting what you said about that when you set up your mind. And what I want to say, of course, I think it's very interesting for me in general right now. So this is very early on, guys, that we are recording this video. We are actually recording in the middle of summer or the end of summer in August. It's super hot, exactly. And you will see throughout other interviews that I will be more and more dressed up in sweaters and stuff. So, but we are all early on, and Tonia is actually the first one who sent in her video because she is on it. And I feel like that a lot of people they do know what their superpower is, or they have an idea of it, but we're very kind of afraid of saying, you know, I do have a superpower, because we're maybe taught to not actually, as you said, boast about it and say, you know, this is my superpower. And I think it's very interesting because other people see the superpowers earlier than you yourself probably do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it's not only because we're afraid of feeling boastful. I mean, sometimes that's definitely the case because we are aware of it. But the other thing is we take our superpowers for granted and we
Mm-hmm.
think they're normal. We all think we are nothing special for the most part, and that, you know, every ability that we have is just something that everybody learns.
Right,
Who of us doesn't say, oh, I'm sure they already know how to do that?
right.
But from my editing job, I learned to never assume people know everything. So to always, you know, even at the risk of seeming insulting, you know, to always explain things really thoroughly. That's not, you know, the case, and people do appreciate that. But yeah, we just take ourselves for granted. We all
Yeah.
do.
That's true. And I also love that you said that one of your superpowers is to, you know, be open to everything, to learn things and not be afraid if it doesn't work out. And that made you more, you know, confident if that you can do anything you want to do, or you set your heart out to learn. And I think that's a really, really important part of art anyway, right? It's like you have to be open to learn new things. Like, I mean, of course you could maybe do the same thing forever and ever and ever and ever, but who wants that? Exactly. Do you think that you learned that through your mom, because she was an artist and you were doing lots of crafts and saw her doing art?
It's that's I've never really thought about why it is. I think, sure, I'm sure that had an influence on it. You know what I think really had an influence on it too, though, was, well, okay, I'm going around in circles here. You know how you think one thing and then you go, no, wait a minute, let me go back farther. So yeah, I do definitely think that my mom influenced the willingness to explore a wide variety of things. And I think that is what led me to want my job as an editor in the first place, was because I loved craft books. And I thought it would be really cool to work on a variety of those. And then once I actually started doing that job, over the, you know, 13 years that I did it, I kind of had to learn so many different things from all the people I worked with. You know, every book that I worked on was like my own private workshop. You know, I got to really learn what the artist did in depth. So I guess kind of it's just built maybe that way.
That's pretty cool. Like we're always like on the source of things too.
Yeah.
Like a private tour thing, like a private workshop.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
So we already said that you were you started creating artwork when you were, and crafting when you were a child. So and you said that you were starting to you were very interested in craft books, and that led for you to become an editor. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually didn't have any formal editing experience. Writing was going to be sort of the plan B. Like I couldn't decide between pursuing that or pursuing art after high school. My mom really wanted me to pursue the writing, but it's like, so I had an aptitude. I knew I had an aptitude, but I didn't have any experience. So I was like, but it said, you know, it said something like it wasn't mandatory or something. So I applied, and I had to apply several times before I actually got an interview. I finally got an interview by sending in a really radical resume. It was like a set of Girl Scout merit badges. Like I actually made them out of shrink plastic,
Wow.
But instead of like regular Girl Scout things, they were accomplishments that I had done that would prepare me for this job. So that got me an interview, and of course I had to take tests, you know, and I guess I passed. And I, you know, certainly developed those skills over the years. But yeah, going into it, I had been doing picture framing at the time, which I loved, but you can only, unless you want to have your own store, you can only go so far in that. It was like, okay, I guess I need a grown-up job now. So to me, the thing that I loved about framing so much was, taking art and really showing it in a new way. And that's still what I love about it. But I saw this opportunity with books and I thought, wow, that's kind of like framing, that's really taking something cool and packaging it and, and showing it off. I thought that would be just so cool. And it is. I loved that work. Yeah.
That is so cool that you said that about framing, because that reminds me of a course that I did with my friend Julie Pfeiffer-Balzer at MoMA. And our teacher there, he's a conservator at MoMA, and it was always, the class was you go through the gallery after opening hours, which is really awesome, and then you go back to the studio and do some art history talking, and then you start like smashing with oil paints around, which was not that good because we didn't really go in depth how to do that, but it was fun and you learned a lot. But one of the things that he always pointed out, and he had a real passion for it, I took several classes with him, and he was so annoyed by it, especially at MoMA, was that many museums took away the original frames that a lot of artists actually did for their modern art, that they made for their modern art and also older art, because the museums wanted it to fit into the museum.
Consistency, yeah.
Right, and years later, I went to the Whitney Museum when they reopened, and they actually went to this length of researching how the original frames had looked like, and they had a company actually redoing all those frames. And it's really amazing. If any of you ever had the chance to go to the Whitney again, check out take a look at those frames. It's really, really amazing. It becomes this like awesome part of the artwork.
Extension of the art.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what's so magical about it. People, I think, we think of frames and so often it's just simple, minimalistic or traditional or whatever, generic frames. And that doesn't really, I don't know, that has never really excited me. But especially when you're framing something yourself, it's just another extension of the creative process. It's like, well, this part's done, but now, let's have some fun with something else. And it's just another creative opportunity to really set it off.
That is a great idea. I guess the next thing you have to do is frames again.
Well, I have a framing course, actually, because I did that. And just like I wanted to prove to people that using cement was easy, I want to show people that, yeah, it's easy and it's not expensive, actually, to frame your own art. It's really, you don't have to do it in the regular way. There's lots of alternative
So it's an online course, Tonia? Can you tell them where they can find the course so that they can check it out?
It's on my website under courses, yeah.
Okay, I will put Tonia's website at the end anyway, so go and check it out if you're interested. And that sounds like a really cool class to take.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Tonia, also, speaking of cement, we were talking about that you're working with, actually it's not just cement or air clay, you also go and you do your jewelry and watercolor. So how do you decide which direction you go when you start, or is it like a phase and then you're like this is the one thing that I'm doing watercolor, or do you, change it up every day or every week, or?
It's definitely more of a phase thing. I mean, I might mix it up a little bit here and there, but it tends to kind of go in longer cycles. So I predict I'll probably be playing with the clay at least for another 6 months or so. Now, because clay involves getting certain tools up. There's a setup, right? It's not like watercolor that I have sitting literally right here that I could just start doing, or your art journal. So if I want just something simple, then I will return to it, but not in a way where I'm really trying to learn something new with it, or I'm just playing around. I tend to really want to focus on one thing and just kind of explore it till I'm bored. Mm-hmm. And really it happens almost overnight. Like it amazes me. Like one morning I just get up and I I just know I don't want to play with that anymore. So, and then it takes a kind of frustrating long period of time to know what the next thing is.
Yeah.
I have to go in this like, non-doing period that's hard for me, but I've learned that it's necessary. I can't just force it. And suddenly I'll see something on Pinterest, or I'll hear somebody talking about something, and I'll be like, and it piques my ears, and and then it goes from there. But it's kind of a crazy cycle, I guess.
That's fun though, and I totally get the bored, like when you don't know where things should go, and it's a very weird but also very necessary, I think, phase that we all need to kind of like get into, into a new groove and be open to get new ideas and new inspirations, and have it just like percolate, I guess, in us,
and not feel bad about it. I think there's this tendency to even feel guilty about it, like I'm not being productive, or I'm going to lose my creative skills altogether.
Right.
I don't keep everything fresh, and like I've gone through it so many times that it's like that's not true. It's just a matter of we know that making things brings us joy. So it's like, I feel like, come on, I want to make something. And I'll ask myself, do I want to do this? And it's like, nah. Do you want to do this? No. So it's like, well, okay, then I guess we're still not doing anything. And I'll, wait till the next day. Yeah.
No, I totally get what you mean. I'm actually kind of in a phase like that right now.
Are you?
But I picked up playing ukulele, and it's actually really fun. Yeah, I really enjoy it. And I think it's also good to do something really, it's still something, I'm definitely creative in inventing new chords and making a song sound different than it should be. But, but it's also, I think it's fun to do something very different from what I usually do, because I think one of the things, especially when you are like we do, are just part of our job, I don't want to lose this feeling that this is still, it is fun, but sometimes it also is, there's other things involved that you have to do in order to be able to sustain yourself, right? And I don't want to lose this like loving for it, because I'm like, I don't have ideas and I feel this pressure and you have to do it, So it's kind of fun to have something totally else going on and kind of dabble in that. And sometimes I'm just sitting there now and I have ideas and I'm like, oh, I've got to go to my studio,
Yeah. And it's good for you. It's so good to try to learn something new. It's good for your brain.
Yeah.
And also, I just had a thought about this, which is kind of loosely related, but not entirely. I love doing things that take a lot of manual dexterity, because I don't want to lose that. That is like a muscle, and that is something where if you don't do it over time, you will kind of lose that. So I kind of try, and that's why I love doing little, beading, and just, or even like with the cement, there will be certain parts of it maybe that are a little bit more intricate and require that. So I think as a culture in general, we're really losing that because of all our digital media. So yeah, I think that's a great thing too, is just to do something even simple, even like knitting, that might require a lot of creativity if you're using a pattern or something, but it's still good for you. It's, it's meditative, and you keep that manual dexterity.
Yeah, and I think also that anything I really believe that anything we do for fun or trying new things out, they will feed into that, what we already know and what we already create. It will come back in some way.
Definitely.
I do not know yet how my ukulele comes back into my artwork, but it will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I always feel also like trying new things, even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter, because it's not wasted. I always enjoy my time trying things out, and I have thrown away so much stuff. Oh my God. But I never felt like, why did I waste my time?
Something about it. Like, even if you're not good at it, you still have that knowledge about it that might, informs something else. You can say, oh, well, ukuleles are made from this type of wood.
Right.
And somebody look at you like, how the heck do you know that?
Right.
Because I looked into it for a little while.
Well, it reminded me also, which is also very loosely related, but I took an Uber ride recently, and the guy, he said something about it's so hot, winter's coming, and then it was a joke about Game of Thrones. So not to bore anyone, but we both discovered that we had watched the Game of Thrones, and we talked about the ending and how we liked it or not. And then he said something about he hated the ending so much, and he's so sad that he wasted all those years watching Game of Thrones. And I thought that was so interesting that he said that, because I wasn't particularly happy about how things were wrapped up. But I've never thought I wasted my time watching the series, because I had so much fun watching it with friends and talking about it, that, who cares about that last...
Which you can still do. You can talk about it with strangers.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So it was interesting for me. Like, the same thing goes for artwork, where you like, just because you maybe never knit that sweater... Right. I don't think like I did waste my time learning like some basics of, knitting. Like, I had fun in that moment, and I was like ready to go that way. And it became a vest,
Right, absolutely. What's wrong with that? Hey, I knit small projects. I don't make sweaters anymore. I did a couple times, and no. I do small projects, yeah.
That's so cool. So the other thing that I was looking, I follow you on Instagram. So guys, if you check out Tonia and you don't already, follow her on Instagram. What's your handle, Tonia?
It's Tonia Jenny, one word, yeah.
So, and Tonia with an IA, which maybe for most Americans is not a biggie, but I think some, like me, some other Europeans might be like, is it with a J or,
or a Y.
A Y, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, what I saw on your Instagram was you recently have created some really, really cool and interesting jewelry pieces that you said were inspired by abstract paintings, and then you actually posted some the reference to that next to it, and I thought it was so cool and such a great idea. So I love going to museums, and when I do, I always look for apparel or jewelry that is actually inspired also by the artwork in the museum. So what are your favorite places to find inspiration for this kind of artwork?
Well, it's probably not going to sound very exciting, but my favorite places are Instagram to see, what other artists are doing, and Pinterest. I'd like to say that I get out to, all the museums regularly, or that I go on a lot of nature walks, which I do in the wintertime. But yeah, honestly, I'm mostly just influenced by the art of others and online. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then you look at some abstract art and you think about how you could translate it into some, like I saw you did this like beat band, which was really cool. And you had.
I'll tell you how that idea came about. So so at that time I was wanting to play with the beading loom, and I had seen on Pinterest some really cool abstract patterns, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. I want to do that. But when I tried to think about like getting out my, I'll make like a pattern on graph paper or something. When I thought about trying to do it systematically that way, it didn't flow. Like, it didn't have the abstract look that I wanted. So I thought, well, what if I just like paint something out and then try pixelating it that way. So that's how that came about. So once I found how relatively quickly I could do that in Photoshop, then I thought, well, gosh, now that I can see it's doable, what else could I do? So I took a friend's painting and I did like a little section of that, and I just played around with it for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 bracelets, and then I was done. I was like, okay, well, that's something else that I know is doable, that I could. Yeah, if I wanted to. Yeah.
Are you going to do more of that? Or are you
Not
bored
right
now?
now. Probably sometime. Sometime. I was thinking actually it would be a kind of a cool course. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe sometime.
That was super fun. I can tell you that you're in for a really cool treat with her video. I was like, ooh, this is cool. Can't wait to be in my new house and have, and do that. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being part of Creative Jumpstart. Do you want to tell us something that you have planned in the next couple of months that you want to have people know about it? Some new online courses, books, things you're doing? Then shoot now.
Yeah, no pressure, but yeah, no, I will be having some workshops coming up on using the clay. So I actually am working right now on one. Have you seen the little books that I made? The
Yeah.
little prayer books? Yeah, I'm working on that course, so I'm really excited about that. And after that, I don't know. I'd like to say what I know is going to be out, around the same time as this Creative Jumpstart, but I have no idea, what's next. It's like one course at a time. So
Yeah, so sign up for Creative Jumpstart. Use Tonia's link if you want to. She will appreciate that. Thank you so much, Tonia. That was wonderful to talk to you and see you soon.
oh, thank you, Natalie. Bye.
Bye.